Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the July edition of Innovation Insights. Here we are, July 15th, so it's essentially the middle of the summer, as I like to think of it. And so half the summer's gone, we got half to go, but still lots of great activities to go before September hits. And obviously in September, we've got a bunch going on across the industry. So my name is Dale Brosius. I'm the Chief Commercialization Officer for IACMI. Just a little bit on IACMI. We organize around the themes of Convene, Connect, Catalyze. That provides project funding, co-funding, training, interns, networking, facilities. Pretty significant expertise amongst all of our core partners. 5 very active working groups, some consulting, as well as education. So if you're not an IACMI member, we certainly encourage you and your company to become one. You can go strictly to iacmi.org/members and get more information there to do it. A little bit about Innovation Insights. This is our 32nd episode since we started in May 2021. We've been able to feature over 90 members and core partners. Throughout this, all of the previous webinars are on the IACMI website, so they're being recorded. And you can catch them there if you've missed any along the way. Today we've got 2 great presentations. One from Christian Halbauer of Berndorf Band Engineering, and another from our Vice President of Comms and Outreach of IACMI. And so I'm ready to turn over. Christian, are you ready to present?
And yes, I'm ready. Hello,
okay.
Everyone. Hi.
All right. So Christian is the Regional Director in Global Sales and Service for Berndorf Band Engineering, based out of Austria. And I presume you're in Austria at the moment. Is that right?
Absolutely. Okay. Yes, I am.
Great. All right. So if you would go ahead and share your slides and take over, I would be more than happy to turn it over to you.
Perfect. I'm going to share my screen with you. Right now. I hope this works. Looks like it does. As just mentioned, my name is Christian. I'm responsible for the sales of our modular double belt press system in the Northern Hemisphere. Just gonna give you a quick introduction of our company, who we are, what we are doing.
Yeah, can you put this into the screen showing mode?
Yeah, should be already. Can't you see it?
It's just scrolling at the moment. So
it's a PDF presentation, so he'll be scrolling through the pages, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. You can also, I know there's also a display function that you can use too. But,
I may continue.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So what we're doing, we are part, the Berndorf Band Group is part of the Berndorf AG. We are a worldwide holding company representing and featuring various kinds of industries. For example, we do have subsidiaries in China responsible for heating treatments within the automotive industry. There's one company called Huck Rheinische who's strongly engaging with us in the field of the wood industry. They're producing the press plates, and we ourselves focus on steel belts and the machinery equipment. We are a global provider, as said, of the steel belts and belt systems. By belt systems, we are referring to the double belt press on one hand, and then there are 2 more product divisions. One is the caster equipment. Probably you all are familiar with our products already. You might not even know it. For example, the foils on your smartphone, those are casted on our machines, which is a simple process where a liquid product is dried on a steel belt, and it's basically equipped with every smartphone. Our mission, our goal, it's actually very solution-based, which means we are trying to find the most economical and sustainable, as well as process-optimized solution for our clients. And we are doing that about 100 years already, with an annual turnover of 140 million. All over the world, we have 500 employees with us. We are doing that in 7 locations worldwide, our own locations, which are subsidiaries, daughter companies. Plus, we are collaborating with 40 agents and 20 service partners, so as to ensure that we are always close to the customer. In terms of production equipment, our main production is located here in Austria. This applies to the steel belts and the machinery. And then there are different R&D centers in the US, close by Chicago, and in Asia, Japan. So that's just an overview again of our locations worldwide. Wherever you might be, you probably be pretty close to us. Now talking about our modular double belt press, I would like to start by going through a rough scheme indicating specific parts of the machine and the surroundings. When we are referring to the continuous pressing process, we divide this into 3 different parts. Part number 1 is the upstream equipment. This applies to the feeding of the material. Here we can use various kinds of feeding devices, such as scattering units, if your product comes in the shape of powder. We could use unbinding units or even an extrusion die, if that's what you need for your product. Once we enter the press, we start at the drums on the bottom and on the top. Usually those are preheated at a temperature of around 120 degrees. They're preheated with thermo oil. Within the press, I'm gonna go into more detail a little later on. Just a rough indication, we divide into a heating and a cooling sections. And at the end, we usually apply a release agent so as to make sure that the product is not sticking to the belt. All of our release agents, they are PTF and silicone free. So if you're engaging in any kind of automotive or aerospace industry, you'll probably be pretty happy about that, since this, at least as we know, is a very strong requirement there. At the end, this is what we call the up and down, the upstream equipment, the counterpart of the upstream equipment, actually the downstream, which could be like edge seaming devices, cross-cutting units. You can take your product off the belt, or even if you have a fully automatic process, transfer it to the next machine. Now talking about our customized design. The reason why we call our modular double belt press this way is that we do have interchangeable models. So there's a certain set of standards already in place, but those standards are arranged according to customers' needs. Means we do not have one fixed configuration. Every model is interchangeable with the other. Talking about composites in specific, for the thermoset paste composites, we would use the roller carpet model, which goes up to a pressure of 290 psi and 482 degrees Fahrenheit. Since usually thermoset-based composites, they require a constant pressure and temperature level, this is the model we would go for. For other industries, not so applicable today, but just to let you know, like for example, for synthetic flooring, synthetic flatware, we can produce polymer sheets on a fixed roller carpet model where you have a punctual force instead of a continuous carpet. A strong tendency we've seen in Europe and especially in Asia, the trend is going to thermoplast composites. And for this kind of field, we have developed a special set of modules, which are unique. They are protected by a patent and do have some special features which I would like to discuss with you today in some greater detail. I'm gonna zoom in a little, since you can see here, as opposed to the roller models, we do have over here sliding plates. Those are made out of graphite, which gives them very good thermal conductivity. For each part of the process, we do have a different set of sliding models. This one, for example, with the continuous plate would be used for preheating. The high pressure model, again, I'm going to introduce it into greater detail a little bit later on, does have high pressure beams where we can apply pressure levels of up to 50 bar. And then we also do have one for temperature controlled cooling, so as to make sure, especially for the thermoplast composites, we can adapt to the polymer specific cooling curve. So instead of going with a very high temperature and then immediately decreasing it to a lower one, we can do it step by step gradually. In general, we do have different options for heating and cooling our models. Our models can be either heated by thermo oil. In that case, they can go up to 250 degrees temperature, which is 482 in Fahrenheit. Or we can also use electric heating rods, and then we can achieve higher temperatures of up to 420 degrees with a pressure level of up to 50 bars in case of the high pressure model, which gives you like 725 psi in pressure. So this is what our model for the composites that are based on a thermoset production procedure. This is the one we would use. We can go up to a width of 2.15 millimeter, which is like around 85 inch. And we do have the possibility to integrate different temperature zones within the roller carpet model. So if you say, for example, the overall length is 8 meters, we can divide this into 4 sections, each section with around 2 meters for achieving a consistent, or if you want to say so, an increasing temperature curve, whatever you need for your product. Other industries we're using this kind of procedure as well is for the synthetic flatware, as said before, or it's even popular with the building and construction material. Just teased a little bit earlier, this is what application we do have in mind, especially when it comes to thermoplastic composites for the automotive and aerospace industry. We have done quite good progress, actually just achieved a major success with a huge supplier from Germany, providing this type of setting to them. And it goes like this. At the entrance, once we reach the first model, it's called sliding plate model for heating. It's like preheating at a very low temperature level. As you can see here, we would go with up to 0.2 to 0.5 bar and increase the temperature of up to 420 degrees. Depending on the type of polymer like you're using, could be PA6, PA12, PEEK, PPS, PPA. So we're used to various kinds of them. We do have the possibility to even divide the plates in 2 sections. So again, to make the preheating a gradual process. Within our second model, this is what you can see here is basically that we have different options to adjust either temperature or pressure, or in that case, both. Because here you have the high pressure beams. At the surface of those beams, we can apply pressures of up to 50 bar. And next to them, you have different heating and pressure sections. They are independent from one another, which means you can either set here a temperature which is like 400 degrees, here you make 420, and with different pressure levels. So it's fully adjustable. This is due to independently working cylinder equipment. So the second model, the high pressure model, this is where the impregnation takes place, which means where we get the fibers together with the polymer. In the third section, we start cooling down. Similar to the second model, also the third model provides you with the opportunity to adjust your process to the needs of your product, which means for all 3 sections, as you can see by the cooling curve and by the pressure line, you can independently select different settings for pressure and heating or cooling in that case for each section. And the final cooling for achieving a proper surface quality takes place in the last model, the sliding plate model for cooling. By our sliding plate model, we can achieve a continuous heat transfer as well as a homogeneous and for the product the most suitable pressure appliance. This should provide you with achieving on the one hand the right density level, but also optimizing the surface quality, since we do not have those patterns that can evolve from using a roller carpet. In reference to the applications, just want to give you a rough overview. As of today, we are mainly focusing on the composite section. You can see different kinds of products here. We are talking like UD tapes with thicknesses of 0.1 millimeter to 0.2 millimeters. We can produce organo sheets, prepregs, semi-prepregs, honeycombs, as you can see here, or just standard sandwich panels. Anything basically can be produced. This is due to the fact that our machine can go in 2 modes, which I can indicate here. For example, for the honeycomb products or sandwich panels, some of those, they might require a very low kind of pressure so as to not damage the product. In that case, our machine is capable of running in isocore mode, which means that we drive with a consistent gap. For other products, such as woven fabric laminates or UD tapes, it's all about the pressure that we are applying to the product. And in that case, we drive with a consistent pressure. So you can either choose when going with our machine between driving with a consistent gap, which is isocoric mode, or going fully isobaric by driving with a consistent pressure. Just closing the loop here, as you can see, there is no standardized configuration. So we give recommendations to our clients based on our experience. And based on this recommendation, we usually would, together with you, select the type of modules that are most suitable. The modules are always the same, but just in a different kind of configuration. These are some other case studies from the flooring industry. Also here, maybe just to point it out, we can provide you with the required downstream equipment, which is cross-cutting, edge trimming, feeding it to the next machine, going fully automatic. All of this is possible. Maybe one more remark to the feeding devices. We do have our own feeding devices, or at least some special kind of application for getting the product in the right shape on the belt. Since some of you might know, when applying a product, especially once it's scattered, and we are talking about a powder, it's a sensitive issue. So as to make sure that it is distributed very evenly on the belt, so that we have a nice result after pressing, as otherwise you might get a problem on the edges. Now a few words in regards to our headquarters in Austria. We do have an R&D center here, as well as in the US, as in Asia. In Austria, this is basically where all the 3 main product groups are located at, which is our double belt press system, the casting machine, and the process equipment for the chemical industry, for refineries, for example. This process equipment R&D center we also do have in the US. For our presentation today, I'm going to introduce to you our R&D center capabilities. What we do have here is what we call the MDBP 800, which stands for Modular Double Belt Press in the width of 800 millimeters or 31.5 inch. The machine comes with an overall width of 800 millimeters on the belt and gives you a final product width between 450 to 620 millimeters in a total length of around 5.5 meters, or let's say around 220 inch. We can equip the machine based on your needs with different kinds of models, since the frame has the right length to adjust to your needs and put one model in while putting the others out. In regards to the downstream equipment, if you would like to come to visit us and test with us, we can provide you with unwinding units, rewinding units, scattering device for the powder, and a guillotin at the end of the line. This is just an extract of our most recent trials and customer batch production. As you can see here, most of the composites we're referring to, they are thermoplast based, since this seems to be the trend within Europe these days and also in Asia. And as you can see by the polymer types, we can go from 180 up to 220, depending on the detailed grade of PA, for example. And for PEEK, we go up to 350 degrees. Regarding the reinforcements, the fibers, we can use glass fibers, carbon fibers, aramid. All of this is possible. Once you decide to come to Berndorf and test with us, or developing your product together with us, the procedure would be like this. We visit our R&D center, run the trials on the machine, try to set the parameters for temperature, pressure levels, as well as the right kind of module selection together. And based on that procedure, and according to the final width you need, since our machine can only give you product widths of 450 to 600 millimeters here in Berndorf, we would upscale your machine, for example, up to a width of 2.15 meters within a thermal process simulation. And then we can provide you with a 3D drawing, including a thermal simulation and a quotation for your product being produced on our machine. As said before, we kindly welcome you to come to Berndorf, visit our factory for the steel belts and the machinery. If you do have some R&D projects currently going on, please feel free to contact us. We are used to that kind of early stage in the process. You even have the possibility to do small batch productions with us that you can sell to your customers. These days, we are pretty well booked until December this year, since we see a strong and increasing demand, especially from the automotive industries when it comes to battery applications like battery housing, pouches for the battery. Those are things that we are currently strongly investigating and seeing a strong demand in. In closing, a few words in regards to our service setup. In the beginning, I told you about our different subsidiaries all over the world. The same applies to our service organization. We do have 11 service hubs that are run by our partners, and 10 service organizations that belong to our group, located worldwide, as you can see here in Europe, represented also in the US and South America, as well as in Asia, plus 5 tool bases for more secluded areas such as Saudi Arabia. Whether you have a double belt press in use these days or not, we also happy to help you if you have any issues or any requirements in regards to your steel belt. We can do repairments for you. We do have developed special tools such as shot peening tools so as to repair cracks and dents on your belt. And this can be done by our service guys who are trained technicians, which we can also teach your staff. If you ever want to get to know how to repair a steel belt, your people are welcome to visit Berndorf and undergo a training, which takes 2 weeks, and then they should be capable of doing those small kind of repairments themselves. At the very end, just would like to finish this presentation with our most recent reference, a German company who decided to go with our machine for thermoplastic based composites, mainly producing organo sheets. The company is called Ensinger. This article was just recently published in Europe in the magazine called K, and worldwide within the compositesworld.com organization. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer your questions if there are any.
Great. Thanks, Christian. Well, people can start to put some questions into the chat or into the Q&A. I got a couple to start with. What's the maximum laminate thickness you can do on thermoplastic and thermoset materials? And I'm talking monolithic, not without, without a core. So, and how do you manage the exotherm in thick thermoset panels? So start with maximum thickness, and then how do you manage the exotherm?
Our machine can go from thickness levels of 0.1 millimeter up to 115 millimeters. I mean, there is basically no limit in the length since it's fully adjustable. Once we exceed a net product width of 600 to 700 millimeters, the module length, the length per module would be 2 meters. If it's below that, the length per module would be 1 meter. So also the length of the machine is based on your product width. This in regards to the length and the thickness.
Yeah, okay, so on the thickness, it would seem that it would be very dependent upon the thermal characteristics. In other words, your machine would be obviously slower if it's making a thick panel in order to melt the material and get it all in there.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. For example, the thinnest products we are producing could be UD tapes, starting from 0.1 millimeter, and then if we go further to sandwich panels, it could be 10 to 30 millimeters. So you're absolutely right. The thicker the product, the longer the process might need, which is the reason why we would usually, so as to speed up, if that's your requirement, for example, start with 2 heating modules for preheating the product, because then we can faster achieve the kind of temperature level we need for the impregnation afterwards.
So there's a question. Well, do you have a small research scale press for like an academic or national lab setting, something in a range of 300 millimeter wide?
I have to say, basically all our machines, they are size 1, because we are referring to ourselves as not as a standardized solution provider. If that's what you need, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. Usually we start with net product widths 400 to 600 millimeters, but if that's your requirement, we can talk about it. It's a bit out of the box, but definitely doable. Not big of an issue.
But a lab scale could be 400 millimeters, I guess. So.
Sure.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to use the full width. You could put 300 millimeter stock through it, right?
Yes,
you can put something
it's possible.
narrower
Yes, we do have the possibilities of using side guidelines. This is possible on the bigger machine, or I mean, most probably doesn't apply to a lab scale line. But if you say you could probably double your capacity by putting 2 300 millimeter products next to each other, and then cutting it accordingly. This is also possible.
Okay. If you would, somebody's asked for your contact info. So if you could put that into the chat and make sure it goes to everyone, not just hosts and panelists, that would be appreciated. And then I have one last question. Is, what's typical lead time for delivery of a machine? Let's say I want to buy something to laminate thermoplastic tapes. How long would I have to wait?
I would say, in regards to the current order backlog, it's like 12 to 14 months. Probably if we speed up, we can do it within 12 months, but 12 to 14 months, I think, is a good indication.
Okay. All right. Well, appreciate you sharing that with us today. And again, if you put your contact information in the chat, that way some folks can get in touch with you.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks again, Christian.
Thank you very much.
So let's just stop sharing, and we're going to switch gears here. I'm going to introduce Mark Morrison, who's our Vice President of Communications and Outreach for IACMI. And he's going to give us a preview of our upcoming members meeting next month in Indianapolis. So Mark, I'm going to turn over to you. You just need to put it in the slideshow mode.
Thanks, Dale, and thanks, Christian. I appreciate that report. That was very informative. I can see a few stories that we want to follow up with you, and hopefully we'll be able to follow up soon. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Morrison. I'm with the communication side of IACMI, and I wanted to give everybody an update on our fast approaching IACMI members meeting next month, August 13th through the 15th in Indianapolis. And on each one of the slides, you're going to see that this URL, iacmi.org/MM24. You can go to this and you can register at any time. So, hopefully those that have not registered, you'll have a chance to do that. So I wanted to start off with, okay, how do I register and what do I do? And then we'll come back to this slide later on in the presentation too. But as I said before, there's the URL. Kim is going to put this in the chat. So those that are members, you just go to hit register now, and you start with general attendee member. And it's pretty easy from there. You'll be asked about attending working groups and activities, but I'll go through some of those. So this is free for members. For non-members, it's $750. And then I do want to point out the Marriott Indianapolis downtown is the venue, and we do have a discounted rate, conference rate of $195, and that rate is good through July 19th. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. If you're a government side of the business, there is a per diem rate that you can get also. So let me just quickly give, I don't want to assume that we have all people that have been to our member meetings, but really it is the premier U.S. advanced composite events, because really when you combine industry, our academia, certainly the laboratories, and then the government agencies from national, state, and local, it's a unique group that we bring together. Kind of the composite ecosystem and community. And then from that, leaders will be involved. We're looking at registration is quite frankly ahead of pace where we've been the last couple of years. So we're looking at 200 to 250 industry leaders. And then you can kind of see the things that we accelerate if you're not familiar with us. I do want to give a shout out to the state of Indiana. Indiana is one of our core founding partners. In 2015, they were one of the first out of the original 5. And Indiana is home to many of our ACME industry members, as well as academic with Purdue, and then the state of Indiana, Indiana Economic Development Corporation. So you see some of the logos of some of our members that are based there in Indiana. From a high level, there is a full agenda, near final agenda that's now online. If you go When you go to register, you can click on agenda and you'll see it. But I wanted to just give you a quick, okay, what's happening on those 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we will open up with our working groups, which are kind of a hallmark of what we do and where our technical projects come out of our working groups. So you can see those on the left. I won't go through them all, but we do kick off the day on Tuesday with our working groups. And then something we're doing a little unique that you see parallel with some of the working groups is what we're calling our ACME workforce partners. So those that may or may not be familiar with ACME, we have a hub and model scale up regional effort across the country when it comes to workforce development, especially with the Department of Defense. So we have some programs, and these partners come together from all over the country. They're going to get together and share best practices while our working groups are meeting. So you'll hear more about that too. And then want to mention the tour, Composites Manufacturing Simulation Center at Purdue. Those of you familiar with CMSC and Byron Pipes, we're pleased that we're going to be able to have a tour there at CMSC. I won't go through the rest. You kind of get the idea. I do want to point out we are having a welcome mixer as everybody comes into town on Tuesday. Traditionally, folks go to dinner on their own, but we want to bring everybody together and kind of kick off the networking on that Tuesday night. Wednesday's our main presentation days. We have a really neat network that night, networking reception at the zoo. And then over to the right, you can kind of see Thursday, we'll close it out with a half day. Start off with our future mobility and vehicles working group, go through some speakers, and then we'll literally end it at 12:30 on Thursday. These are some of the speakers, folks who will be making presentations, and we have some panels. I'll leave these up for a second, but you can kind of see the names on the right, including everything from some of our Department of Energy and Department of Defense sponsors, state leadership. And we're really pleased with the lineup that we have. And I want to talk a little bit more about some of the featured speakers. It's not all of them, but I did want to point out a few. From the Department of Energy, we're pleased to have Chris Saldana. He's the AMTO director. And then John Weekle. Many of you know John. He's technology manager at DOE, and he's going to be focusing on smart manufacturing. And then from the Department of Defense, Matt Draper. Matt's the technical director that we're working on very closely with IBAS, the Industrial Base Sustainment and Analysis Program. And he's going to talk about some of the dual sourcing materials that we and workforce projects that we have going on. and the need for the critical need that the SMEs, small, medium enterprises play in our country. So I did want to point out, if you're familiar with Paul Martin, you may have seen some stories we've promoted, but Paul is the Director of Advanced Manufacturing at DI, Dimensional Innovations. And it's kind of a really neat story that DI has, working with Purdue, working with some other IACMI members, including Thermwood. But when you look at, what does this Al Davis torch have to do with composites, and have to do with IACMI, and have to do with Indiana? So I'm not going to read the details there, but it is a pretty neat story that Paul tells, a story of partnership, a story of innovation, and the challenges that they really had to come to build what's known as the world's largest freestanding 3D printed structure, the Al Davis Memorial Torch, which is in Las Vegas. If you're an NFL fan, you're certainly familiar with that stadium, recently coming online the last 2 years. And then another featured speaker is a gentleman named Jim Vanosky. Jim's is a Forbes magazine contributor, but he's somebody that spent a lot of time in manufacturing. He's a manufacturing executive. He's still active on the shop floor. He's worked with companies you can kind of see here, for General Mills, and making products from food to plastics. So Jim today, in his stories that he contributes to Forbes magazine, focusing on manufacturing, but he also has a podcast and a website, Manufacturing Talks, where he keeps update on trends. And so Jim's going to be able to talk to us on Thursday, the second day of our main session. And I think you'll look forward to what Jim's got to say. And he's going to arrive and be at the tour at Purdue, so he's going to be with us for a while, so you'll be able to network with him too. We're pleased to have a sustainability panel that we've got. Hannah Mason, many of you know Hannah. She's the technical editor and really the sustainability lead when it comes to Gardner Media. So we're pleased that Hannah's going to be able to moderate this. And then you see the distinguished panelists that we have. In fact, if you haven't seen, you can Google a story that Hannah did, featured with Eric Heiss from IDI Composites International. I think that story ran a month or two ago. It's pretty neat about how they're looking at new ways to incorporate sustainability on the front end of what they do. So you see the rest of the speakers were very pleased. Each one in their own right has a unique perspective they're going to bring to the panel. Workforce panel. Obviously, the key right now is, are we creating a pipeline for talent, not only for our businesses, but for businesses that are in the supply chain, especially for Department of Energy and Department of Defense. So we're pleased to have a workforce panel that's going to talk about that. Carol Howerton, many know Carol from Marshall University, but she's also a member of our council from the IACMI Consortium Council. And you see the rest. We're pleased to have Brad from USA, and then Michelle Hurdle from Airbus is going to kind of talk about a unique perspective. She's based down in Mobile, Alabama, as they continue to hire workers for operators, but also for engineers. And so she's going to be able to talk about those topics. And Tony Smits, if you're familiar with Tony is a professor at UT, University of Tennessee, but also he's the person who developed the ACE curriculum training that we're leading and that we're managing at IACMI. And then Darren Foster. Darren's a former intern, but he's a lead materials test engineer at TPI. So I know you'll be looking forward to hearing his perspective. Working groups, which I mentioned, are a hallmark of what we do. I won't go through these, but you can kind of see, as I said earlier, Tuesday, we kick off with working groups. And then on Thursday, as we wrap up our half day, we're going to kick that day off with our working group. So hopefully you'll be able to attend and join and participate in all of these. And then, as I mentioned, the tour at the CMSC, Composites Manufacturing Simulation Center at Purdue. I do want to stress that you do have to sign up for this. So when you do go on and register, sign up for that. Spaces are filling up. We do have a capacity. And so I just wanted to make sure everybody knows. And Byron Pipes and his team have really put a lot into this. They've got some new things. So if you've been up to Purdue, if you haven't been in the last couple of years, they've got new things that they're actually rolling out. So you can kind of see these here. They actually launched in the Thermwood LSAM Research Lab in 2021, but they've got new things that they're ready to show. And you see those here, the Advanced Tape Placement Laboratory, and I won't go through them all, but also a big part of this is one of our members with Dassault, the 3D Experience Center of Excellence. So you'll be able to learn more about what they do there at CMSC. And then obviously we're going to be talking about IACMI 2.0. That's kind of a term that we've endeared going into our renewal funding with Department of Energy. But certainly there's some key research directions that we're taking. You can kind of see some of those here: electric vehicles, offshore wind, sustainability, recycling, and then certainly workforce development. We really want to build off our success we had with our initial internship program. And so we're looking forward to kind of refreshing that and getting the word out at the members meeting and beyond. Now, just a few things here with the property, the Myriad Indianapolis downtown. It is in a really great location. Dale can kind of attest to that. He lives up in that area. But it, the hotel offers a lot within walking distance. Downtown has so much to offer, and the hotel's located strategically. I think you're really going to enjoy being here at this hotel, and you can kind of see some of the things that they offer at the hotel, being a Marriott property. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to do a welcome mixer at Victory Field. So Victory Field is the minor league ballpark for the Indianapolis Indians. They actually play St. Paul, team from the Minnesota Twins Farm League. But we're really looking forward to being able to get together and network in what we're calling a mixer. And so we reserve the outdoor patio. And what's going to be neat is we're going to have an opportunity to really kind of interact. If you're folks like maybe, Kevin Lyon and Joe Fox and Chris Vickery and Tom Dry and some of the folks that are some of our core members from the composite side, you may not know a lot about our workforce programs, such as America's Cutting Edge and Metal. So we want to be able to kind of foster some interaction during this mixer, and it'll happen throughout the entire IACMI event. But we really, as we do this, we want people to kind of exchange in a networking environment, kind of get to know each other. And so we're really looking forward to this venue that's really just 0.3 miles from the hotel. Again, one of the hallmarks of our activity is the networking reception. So on Wednesday, we're looking at having Wednesday night a reception at the Indianapolis Zoo. And again, we'll have bus service to and from the zoo that'll run a continuous loop. But again, it's a real neat venue. It's got a bicentennial pavilion. And so I think this is going to offer a unique perspective, not only the animals, there's an oceans indoor pavilion, and then there's, beautiful view of the Indianapolis skyline too. Now, I'm not going to go through the details. I just want to let the group know, or let everyone know, that we do have a near final agenda. It's actually on, if you go to acme.org/MM24, you can click on agenda and you'll get a look at this. And then it's also available on our website. If you go to acme.org, go to members meetings, and you'll be able to see the near final agenda. So the point is, we are pleased with what we've got lined up. It's a very robust, with some engaging speakers, engaging topics, and then plenty of networking opportunities. So again, we'll share this. Kim will share this presentation too after the meeting. But with that being said, I just want to remind you, if you haven't registered, please do so, and then remind you of the special rate that we have for the hotel that goes through July the 19th. So with that, said, I will stop sharing and be happy to engage any questions. Or Dale, who lives there in Indianapolis, right outside of it, he certainly can give you the flavor. Sometimes when he talks about it, you think he works with the Chamber of Commerce. So Dale might be able to ask any questions too that you have.
No, I think Indianapolis is a very underestimated town, and people will enjoy it. So there's a lot going on, and I think the Victory Field's a great ballpark, and it's a very nice zoo. I was just went to the zoo over the 4th of July holiday, so looking forward to having people come there. Thanks, Mark, for all that information. And again, it's a lot of detail to try to go through, and everybody should go to the website and look for themselves. But as always, our members meetings are jam-packed with lots of useful information, lots of networking opportunities, and lots of enrichment. So,
hey, thanks, Dale. And I do want to point out, this is one of our largest events that we do at IACMI. We have a really good team. Kim Hooden, who many of you know, who's on, and then Alyssa Farr, our events specialist, and then Jessica Jeffrey and some others. So really, we're looking forward to hosting everybody, and can't wait to see you next month.
Yep. Okay. So just a reminder that if you've got colleagues that didn't get a chance to make it today and want to get a preview of it, they can certainly, within a few days we'll have the link up and have the presentation up on the website. So thanks to all of you for attending. We're going to give you back about 12 minutes of your afternoon now, and we will not have Innovation Insights in August because of the members meeting, but we will return to this platform again in September and out through the end of the year. So have a great week, and we will see you at the members meeting next month. Thanks all.